Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we are going to discuss a very important topic of Indian Constitution, that is DPSP, which full form is Directive Principles of State Policy, which falls under Part 4 of Indian Constitution. So in today's video, we are going to understand what Directive Principles are, why they are uh, inserted into the Constitution, and such other information. So let's get started. So let us know about from which articles that principle has been inserted. So as I said, part 4 has directive principle of state policy, and from article 36 to 51 all these articles are the some kind of principles that is for a state to follow. Part 4, Article 36 to 51 of the Indian Constitution contains 16 articles known as the Directive Principle of State Policy. So, all the 16 articles are known as the Directive Principle of State Policy. That means there are some kind of principles that the state has to follow for the betterment of the society. These principles guide the government in making laws and policies to improve the country in areas like economy, society, environment, and justice. So there are some kind of guidelines and principles which helps the government in making laws and policies in subjects that are economy, society, environment, and justice. They are not legally enforceable but act as an instruction for government to create a better for fairer society. So directive principle of state uh, policy is not enforceable, but they are there as a guideline so that the government can work more better and more efficiently. Now let us know about the purpose and importance of directive principles. Directive principle in Part 4 of the Indian Constitution cover many areas of life like the economy, society, law, and the environment. So that these are the areas that directive principles covers. They guide the government, both the legislature and the executive, on how to make India a better country. So, as I said, they are kind of a guideline, they are kind of principle that helps the government as well as the legislature and executive how to make India a better country. These principles are not laws and cannot be enforced in court, but they show the goals and values our leaders wanted after independence. So, there has been inserted, that was the idea that has been on the mind of our ancient fighters before their independence, and they have inserted all these things to the very constitution with a goal to attain a great purpose in the society. They help build a fair and just society and aim to create a welfare state. So this is the very aim of directive principle of state policy. It is the duty of the government to follow them with honesty and responsibility. As I said, there are some kind of principles or guidelines or duty that has been vested upon the government to run the society in a better way. Now let us know the objective and significance of that. Dr. Ambedkar described the directive principle as guideline for the legislature and executive. So Dr. Ambedkar has termed the directive principle of state policy as some kind of guideline for the legislature and executive. He emphasized that those in power must follow this principle just as they follow conventions in the English constitution. So, in Dr. Ambedkar views, those who are in power, for example, the government, they should follow certain guidelines that have been vested in the very constitution. These principles are not enforceable by law, but hold great moral and democratic importance, guiding the government in making decisions for the welfare of the people. So, though they are not enforceable, but they have a greater role to play. So, the government is supposed to follow the guidelines. Relationship between fundamental directive principle and fundamental rights. So now let us know what are the relationships that the fundamental rights and DPSP shares together. While fundamental rights are enforceable by law, directive principles are not. So this is the very differences between fundamental rights and DPSP, because fundamental rights are enforceable law, whereas DPSP is not enforceable by the law. In the 1973 Kesavananda Bharati case, so Kesavananda Bharati case is also known as fundamental rights case, which has also mentioned in various video of mine. The Supreme Court clarified that directive principle and fundamental rights work together. They are not in conflict but are complementary, is supporting the other. So as I said, fundamental rights and DPSP are not sworn enemies. They are friends. They work together and they support each other. Now let us know primacy of directive principle in Article 31. So Article 31 has given immense importance to directive principles. Article 31 gives priority to the directive principle in Article 39 Clause B and Clause C of the fundamental rights in Article 14 and 19, ensuring that social and economic justice comes first. So Article 31 has given the priority to directive principles over fundamental rights. Now let us know the enforceability of directive principles as fundamental rights. So now let us read this. The Supreme Court has made several directive principles enforceable through the judiciary. So with various cases, the court with time to time came as with certain decisions which make some of the principle as enforceable enforceable by law. For example, principle like equal pay for equal work, free education for children, protection for working women, legal aid, speedy trials, and medical assistance for workers have been recognized as fundamental rights by the court. So these are some of the fundamental rights which have been added as a guidelines or principle for a government to follow, and they are enforceable by law. Now let us know Supreme Court on balancing fundamental rights and directive principle. Now we will understand how Supreme Court balances both together. In the 2006 case, State was Gujarat versus Mirzapur Moti case of Jamaat, the Supreme Court ruled that a law based on directive principle can limit a fundamental right if two conditions are met. First, it should not clearly conflict with the right, must be within the law-making powers of the legislature. In this case, the court upheld a law banning the slaughter of certain cattle, saying it was in the public interest and did not fully ban the butcher's business. The law was found to support directive principles without violating fundamental rights. So this is a very important case law on this manner, which comes in the year of 2006. So in this case, the Supreme Court has given a judgment balancing both fundamental rights and DPSP without causing any harm to both. So that is the judiciary's movement or judiciary's trend over DPSP and how they have from time to time make them enforceable. So this is all about what DPSP is in our Indian Constitution. Soon we'll be meeting soon with another such legal concept. If you find this video helpful, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching the video.